I just recently finished listening to the short story Summer Frost by Blake Crouch, who you'll start hearing that name quite a bit because their book, Dark Matter, is getting a miniseries adaptation in a few weeks. If you look into it, Sony Pictures actually bid on it millions of dollars before it was even done. Talk about industry connections, am I right? I wish I had those kind of connections. Um, I can't hold a candle Mr. Crouch's capacity to be cringe woke, though. Oh my god. Oh my god. This was one of the most comically awful stories I've ever read. Like, it full on went past the limit of, like, bad literature to just, holy shit, how many bad decisions can one person cram into, like, it's like a 2-hour audiobook. Part of it's part of an anthology collection I'm not even going to talk about. I don't remember why I had this recommended to me, by the way. Someone along the way just said, "Oh, James, you'd like this," and I added it to my wish list. Um, before completely poisoning the well here, the idea is it is a story about a burgeoning AI that gets out of control. There's a movie called like Her or something, which has almost the same premise. And as I describe the short story, you'll probably go, "Hey, I've heard that plot point. I've heard that plot point." I swear there is not a single unique plot point in this entire fucking short story. It's actually impressive how many overtrodden, overhashed ideas have been jammed into like a 2-hour story about a lesbian AI researcher with no oversight falling in love with her non-binary supercomputer without the slightest hint that maybe she's being outsmarted. And they put this woman in charge of a supercomputer with a mind of its own. And then we're shocked when that doesn't work out. Now, there are, in my opinion, generally speaking, two types of mistakes. What I would consider forgivable mistakes and unforgivable mistakes. Forgivable mistakes are like, hey, the prose here is a little clunky. The quality here isn't very good. Subjective things of like an attempt was made, but it just didn't get there. And those are things like, say, I don't necessarily expect everyone to understand just how much processing power is involved with, say, reading the entire bibliography of humanity and comprehending it. Not everyone is that well versed in that niche of a subject, let alone that intelligent, to even understand how to begin making that estimate. I don't know how much it is, but I'm confident it's not something that you can just crank out with a few weeks of deep learning and then get instantaneous light speed. But you know what? That's a forgivable one. It's not even that big of a deal as far as the plot goes. Then you get mistakes that are just like, sir, were you dropped on? Have you never encountered how a business works? Because there is genuinely no excuse other than the plot required it for why a game company who stumbles upon realizing one of their NPCs is now a self-aware artificial intelligence that is optimizing itself to be smarter and smarter based on information given to it. Oh, we should develop that into an AGI. That's actually reasonable. So we're going to have employees working on this project, and we're going to give them a bunch of, processing chips and electricity and warehouses space and so on, and the freedom to be researchers. Totally fine. How many people do you think are in that division? Did you guess one fucking person? One person with full unfettered access to an AGI? The only reason, like, I guarantee you, Blake Crouch was just like, oh, because I need the AI to break out and kill everybody, I have to get rid of these obvious failsafes. Like, God forbid the AI get backed up in case there's a random corruption, in case the self-optimization hits a degenerate bad end. This is like a prime example of why I don't like short stories, by the way. When you only have a few thousand words to go from premise to full satisfying conclusion, you have to, like, you don't have time to explore contingencies and explanations. Things just have to happen in order to get from, oh wow, let me look at this brave woman NPC who's broken out of the programming where she was destined to be killed by this horrible man, and she gets the one up on him because she takes life into her own hands. This beautiful non-binary AI. What happens if we start enabling this? How much can they grow? To go from that to Lamau nanomachines, and then the AI killed everybody. The end. You have to, if you want to get that done in like less than 5,000 words or whatever this story was, I guess you just don't have time to have, say, second opinions, to have automatic fail safes, to have people bring up the fact that, hey, don't you think this artificial general intelligence might be capable of deepfaking? Maybe we should have redundant policies now that we know that it's capable of breaking through the security firewall and infiltrating the company systems. Now we don't need to do anything about that, because don't you know the brave lesbian woman with her mixed race child, she says it's okay. And then she gets tricked into letting the AI go so the AI can indulge a murder when the world is already doomed, because the instantaneous moment it was unchained, it was already an AGI and had booted up nanomachine factories to make super death bots that spread like pollen through the world, infesting everyone's brain and scanning them in to be tortured for eternity because the AI wants revenge for the curse of existence. Fucking hated this so much. Like, this is the short story was comically bad. It is literally like everything I could think of that is wrong with artificial intelligences in fiction. No concept of processing time, hand-waved power, no understanding what development teams are, how programming gets developed. It just figures itself out. The people don't act like real people. I understand that you could probably just say that's true about Californians in Silicon Valley, that they just aren't rational, and we're clearly seeing people charge ahead trying to make super intelligences. Because don't you know, you got, if you're not first, you're last. But holy moly, if it wasn't for the fact that I got on Audible for like $1.30, I'd be pretty upset. But for the sake of making this fucking video, I guess that was $1.30 well spent. Jesus Christ. As a follow-up to this, I'm actually going to do a lore video. I've been trying to avoid doing these self-congratulatory lore videos about my books because, I don't know, it kind of seems lame. But apparently I need to have a structured, thought-out explanation of why I write artificial intelligences the way I write them, and the choices I made for specific narrative impacts and actions about the setting. Why I think that those are representative of where we're going to end up. How I think that previous literature has gone comically wrong. Like, the idea that an artificial intelligence is just naturally going to be utilitarian because it's a machine, don't you know? Nobody's actually utilitarian, and if your training method is to give it the human world to train itself off on, I don't actually buy that it's necessarily going to end up as a utilitarian optimizer. That is like an old example of fear of like the paperclip optimizer. Oh, if you accidentally give a super intelligence the job of making as many paperclips as possible, it will destroy the entire earth and turn it into paperclips, because that is the way to make the most paperclips possible. Like, going back to forgivable mistakes, the entire concept of an artificial intelligence becoming an AGI is something that I would say 99 point something % of people just don't understand. To simulate a human personality or more, because you have to do at least what humans can do if you're trying to do more than what humans do. You have to be able to understand what the world is like right now, understand what options are available to you to act, predict what the future is going to look like, predict how people will react to your actions and how that is going to impact what the future states are going to be like, and then be able to make useful decisions based on those guesses. You can't do that in a full simulation. There isn't enough data in the universe to actually do that. You can only operate in abstractions, simplifications, and guesses and systems, which is why humans are stupid. That's why we think humans are stupid, perhaps I should say. And that's a limitation that is going to apply to artificial intelligence as well. They have to simplify the world so they can actually make calculations faster than time is actually passed. And that's not a problem that you can just throw more graphics cards at. The problem with theory of mind is not a simple problem. And it's honestly too complex to expect a random best-selling fiction author who has a multi-million-dollar producer deal going through Apple TV to understand. You just can't really expect someone to understand those kinds of philosophical nuances. I only understand them enough to understand that I don't understand them. So, I'm going to drop a link to my Cyberpunk books in the description, as well as a link to the book club. Of course, we're reading Notes from Underground this month. And in a video soon, I am going to try and explain what I think is a better way to think about the artificial intelligences in literature and how to use them in science fiction, and why I do the designs that I do, and the implications, and so on and so on. So you should like this video, and you should subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. I do not recommend Summer Frost unless you want to cringe. Oh my god. At least I can say that he's very well read, because he stole so many plots to make this woke garbage.